construction workers, regular guys in New York, voters. It was beautiful. I don't think this whole let's put Trump on trial during an election year is working out exactly the way the Democrats planned. Donald Trump arriving in Manhattan for his court appearance in the criminal trial that, is a big turd. It's not real. And look what happens on the streets of Manhattan when Donald Trump pulls over to say hi to some workers at a construction site.
We love Trump. We love Trump. We love Trump. We love.
That was happened just moments ago. It is 7 a.m. in the East Coast right now. It is Thursday, April 25th. This is Fox and Friends, and you're watching former President Donald Trump meeting with construction workers in New York this morning around 6:30 Eastern time. As he got a massive day for him legally, but he already had a great start, probably emotionally.
It was so smart of him to do this because now everyone across the country is talking about it and will be throughout the day. Hopefully he'll do something like this every day before he goes to court. In just a few hours, he's going to be back in that New York City courtroom this is day 7, right, Brian? Day 7 of his criminal trial.
Alexis McAdams is live.
Yeah, we'll get to you in a minute, Alexis, but it is smart. We've got criticism sometimes for politicians and for political consultants because a lot of times they make dumb mistakes. Whoever was consulting Ron DeSantis on his whole primary plan there to get the nomination, dude, get a job at Wendy's, right? Not Ron DeSantis. I mean, the political consultants. We'll criticize when they deserve criticism, but we're also going to praise when they deserve praise. Whoever it was on Team Trump who decided that when they go to court or when they've got a break from court or when they're leaving court in Manhattan, that they go and they make a stop to meet with voters, that person deserves, to be the political consultant of the year. This is so brilliant. Think about the Democrats right now. Oh, I've got a great idea. Let's come up with a completely bogus, trumped-up criminal charge in Manhattan. Ooh, make it about the Stormy Daniels thing. So all the headlines will say hush money for a porn star. That's going to kill him, man. And then we'll make sure that we get a judge who hates Trump and is a big activist for the Democrats. He'll make decisions like he can't talk about the case, that he can't tweet about it or anything like that. And and he can never leave Manhattan during the trial. That means he can't go out to fundraisers. He can't do rallies. He won't even be able to go to his son's graduation. This is brilliant. Let's go for it. That's the plan. And so instead, Donald Trump on his way to court at 6:30 in the morning, you heard. Who's awake at 6:30 in the morning? Working men and women, blue collar workers, the people who keep this country going. They're up at 6:30 in the morning. And Donald Trump stops and gets to this construction site. We're going to get back to the Fox News report on the scene, but I want to show you what it looked like on the ground there. Look at this image.
We want Trump. We want Trump. We want USA. USA.
Yeah, you heard the chants between "We Love Trump" and USA, but let's zoom out a little bit and see what the entire block in Lower Manhattan was hearing.
USA. 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 USA.
Let this image play for a while we consider the juxtaposition of news stories and video images on the island of Manhattan today. Downtown, 6:30 in the morning, as the former president and now Republican candidate for president makes his way to a criminal trial where most Americans think he shouldn't even have to face these charges because it's completely bogus. He is surrounded by working men and women literally wearing hard hats because that's what they do. Biden can go and give a speech in front of a big hotel ballroom with union bosses there, or he can walk through a staged event where people look like they're in a hostage video holding up signs saying, "My union supports Biden," when they don't really care about him at all, right? Trump goes to where they're actually on the job spontaneously, not scripted, not staged, not set up for cameras. And they all start chanting USA, USA, and they're happy. and they're smiling. That's in Lower Manhattan. Now, let's head uptown about 120 blocks, just at the foot of the George Washington Bridge on the Upper East Side, the campus of Columbia University, where you've got the Democrats' popular base. You know, the pro-Hamas, pro-terrorist dirtbags who are camping out on the campus, who are threatening people, who are chanting in support of a massacre. And what are they saying about America? Are they chanting USA with smiles on their faces? No. They're wearing terrorist scarves to hide their faces, and they're chanting death to America. Those are two different worlds occupied within the island of Manhattan right now. One of them represent the supporters of Donald Trump in this presidential campaign. The other image represents, if not full-on supporters of Joe Biden in this presidential campaign, they represent the group that Joe Biden is trying to pander to, the group that Joe Biden is worried about offending, the ones who are chanting death to America. And that's all happening all at the same time on the island of Manhattan. And this is powerful, powerful stuff. If you worry about presidential elections where imagery and what's that word they use all the time? Optics is critical and important. These optics, you can't buy that for $1 million, $10 million. Let's get back to how Fox News reported it this morning on the scene.
Hey, that's right. So where would you rather start your morning, right, than in Midtown Manhattan for these construction workers and union members who got to catch a glimpse of former President Donald Trump, who had quite a lot to say. He spent a lot of time shaking hands and trying to talk to these construction workers. Many of you guys who say they were lifelong Democrats but are now just fed up with how the country and where the country is heading, rather. We did have a chance to catch up with the former president, asked him some questions about what's going to happen here on day 7 of his criminal trial. But right now he says he's focused on gaining ground here in New York City and believes he has what it takes to connect with these voters. Watch.
These maybe were Democrats, but to me they're Republican. There's not a Democrat in there. These are people who got buildings. We built a lot of great buildings in the city with these people. And they've given me great support. They're really amazing. They're very, very talented people. They don't get the credit for it. They have very few people can do what they do.
Yeah, that's right. Because let's not forget these construction workers, and yes, union members, we'll get to that in a moment. These construction workers, before they knew this guy as President Trump, they knew him as the boss, the guy who would hire them to build his buildings. And there's a lot of them. And that brings us to the aforementioned union, or at least in this case, the union leader, because he showed up down there with his members and he had an announcement to make to Newsmax cameras.
In the past, we are basically Democrats, all of us. And after what's happened the last 4 years in this country, Democrats are basically pushing everybody to the other side. We're a very patriotic group and we love our country and we want the best for America. We are tired of immigration. We're tired of our tax dollars going to immigration. We're tired of the crime. We need to put a handle on things in this country and bring it back to how it should be.
The Democrats have become the party of the ultra wealthy and
7 a.m. this all happened. Between 6:30 and 7:30 in the morning, all of this happened. Before Trump even entered the courtroom today, he had already won the news cycle. These images are everywhere. And this is, well, this is how you set your political narrative to win an election. Now, I'm not getting ahead of myself. I know it's April 25th. There's a lot of game to be played here. What I'm impressed with is this was supposed to be a horrible week for Donald Trump. This is a week where all of the news stories are about him and the criminal charges and a porn star and hush money and all of that. And today, his lawyers are arguing in front of the Supreme Court about the insurrection charges. And, well, the criminal stuff, the legal stuff, the judicial stuff, that's going to play itself out. That's going to happen. Does anyone think that Trump isn't going to get convicted in Manhattan by that jury? I suspect he will. And I also suspect that it'll be overturned on appeal because they literally made up the law to go after him. But understand something. That trial that he's in right now is not about the law. It's not about justice. It's not about a crime. It's about politics. It's about the presidential election. And when you approach it that way, well, then every day you have to win the daily political narrative with images and with messages. And so even if he's facing these criminal charges today in Manhattan, no one's talking about that part of his day. They're talking about this part of his day. Even while facing criminal charges in New York, he was surrounded by adoring construction worker, regular guys from New York and New Jersey, places not very welcoming to a Republican. And he not only got them to chant, "We love Trump and USA," but he even got the endorsement of their union boss against not only all odds, but against probably the union infrastructure's political interests. Because even though the rank and file generally do vote conservative and Republican, the leadership tend to vote for Democrats because Democrats give them more. They give them favors, they give them payouts, and I suspect probably some corrupt back and forth under the money stuff. But he still got the endorsement. Who wins the day politically? Regardless of what happens in a courtroom, who wins the day? But by the way, even before Donald Trump walked into that courtroom, he had this to say.
Tremendous polls came out over the last 24 hours where we're up in all of the swing states and up nationally. But one came out where we're down very little in New York. New York traditionally isn't won by Republicans anymore. It used to be 50 years ago, but not anymore. And I think we have a good chance of winning New York. We're going to give it a big play. We're going to the South Bronx to do a rally. We're going to be doing a rally at Madison Square Garden, we believe. We think we're signing Madison Square Garden to do it. We're going to have a big rally honoring the police and honoring the firemen and everybody, honoring a lot of people.
So latest poll comes out and shows that the margin in New York has narrowed quite a bit. He's planning a rally in the South Bronx and at Madison Square Gardens where he will honor cops and firemen. Listen. Do I think Trump's going to win New York? No. Do I think he could win New York? It's possible. Do I think that Trump can utilize what they're doing to him by forcing him to stay in Manhattan for this criminal trial and harness the energy that he's getting right now from the people of New York to start to move the needle in such a way that Biden and the Democrats actually have to defend their lead in New York, that they'll have to spend money in New York to ensure that they win it? Abso-freaking-lutely, as a New Yorker would say. That's probably more powerful than anything. Listen, if Joe Biden loses New York, game over. Any way you put together the electoral map for Democrats, any Democrat running, you start with California, New York, and Illinois, and the rest works itself out. But if you lose one of those big three, you're toast. You're history. And they know it. So if it does start to get tighter, if he does do rallies like this, if the needle does start to move in his direction in New York, they're going to have to spend a ton of money there. Money that they never have to spend. And that really would be a game changer in this